So the music industry is an industry that's faced a really difficult situation for 20 years, essentially, because technology has tremendously made it difficult to make money the way they were making money before. Interestingly, the one way to make money in a way which is increasing.
Promotions, or was it for the? Okay. Oh, it should be taken care of. Yeah, it should be taken care of. Yeah. Okay.
So the one way that they're making money now is through vinyl discs. So the sales of vinyl disc are going up. So I guess making a vinyl disc album is a solution for the music industry. But I mean, you can't go back and try to fix today's problem with the solution from 50 years ago, so it's difficult. So the Rolling Stone, and this was last week, March the 3rd, was talking about this band called Kings of Leon. I don't know if you heard of them. This band is actually releasing their album titled When You See Yourself in the form of an NFT. An NFT, non-fungible token, it's like a Bitcoin. So they're going to be the first band that will be available from buying it just using NFT currency. And once you buy it this way, you actually get extra benefits, extra bonuses, extra access to other songs, or to the possibility to see some private concerts that they would do online, and all those different things. So they are looking for opportunities, and one of them was this technology of sort of this technology has to do with Bitcoin type of currency. But that's not the only thing. Is if you look, SoundCloud, and so that was also the 2nd of March, so last Tuesday, was introducing a fan-powered royalty. So it's another type of currency that's going to be like a Bitcoin type of currency, where singers will be making money based on how many fans do they have and how much interactions they have with fans. So that's also tremendously changing. So all of this is based on what opportunity? The opportunity of technology, which is based on what opportunity? So that the big technology, and then blockchain. So blockchain is generating opportunities for the music industry, like it's generating opportunities for everyone. And so through these new currencies, and so these are going to be the one for SoundCloud, going to be a proprietary currency that SoundCloud is going to be diffusing. But what's interesting is Tidal, which was owned by Jay-Z, is being purchased as a majority ownership of by SquareUp. So Square, so the website is squareup.com, which is a company that helps small businesses develop their entrepreneurial platform online by having e-commerce platforms, store platforms, and also payment platforms for small businesses. I've been purchasing Tidal from Jay-Z, and Tidal is a bit of a like an iTunes, sort of a SoundCloud, sort of an iTunes, and SquareUp is acquiring them in order to take advantage of this e-commerce music growth, digital music growth that Square is sort of inside the digital e-commerce facility. So it's fascinating to see that opportunities are not just for Califia Farms, they're for every industry, and everybody is looking at that. So I have another one here. This is the Porsche Club of America. So it's the largest car club in the world, I believe. Um, More than 120,000 members, something like that. You don't have to have a Porsche, I believe, to be part of the Porsche Club of America. But once you have this membership, you get a login in order to go inside the website, and you have access to videos, you have access to all kinds of other insurance services, and also to the newsletter. So there's several newsletters inside. There's a national newsletter, and then there's a regional newsletter. So you can read these. And the Porsche Club of America has noticed that there's more and more people selling their classic car um, online versus selling it through a store. And so people privately are selling their car because now they have the services, online services to be selling it. So obviously there's eBay, but there's also auction houses that do that. So they thought, since we have a magazine, and inside the magazine, there's a classified section where you can sell your car, why don't we create P Car Market, which is a Porsche auction specialized website for the members of the Porsche Club of America owner. So opportunities is what really fuel business. And business is always looking for changes in the environment that they can take advantage of. So before I start with the lecture of consumer behavior, which I already started, but I want to keep on going, I was not finished. I want to therefore ask you, you are looking for opportunities. What opportunities have you found? So I'm not going to ask you to tell us what they are because this is your own little secret. But what I want to do is to tell you about some opportunities that I've been thinking of. So what I'm going to do now is to give you a bunch of opportunities. So it's like Christmas today in a way. The one I'm going to, so if I can, I give opportunities to students. To my surprise, because I give it to everyone, people don't use them. You can use them. And sometimes the opportunities I give are better than the one I have, and I don't know why they don't add my opportunities in addition. That way it makes maybe for a better report because there's more opportunities. Obviously, when you give opportunities like you're giving weaknesses, you have to rank them from the most important to the least important. So it's possible that you find better opportunities that I'm finding, but I have some good one that I want to share with you. Will you still get a credit for presenting my opportunities? Yes, because they are. I haven't spent time to make them fully complete. So, for example, there's missing sources, there's missing percentage. So they are, I don't know, 50% good, and you have to sort of fix them. Obviously, it would be making no sense if I was giving you the perfect report as finished on the 10th of May. That would make no sense. So I didn't do that. But I'm going to give you a bunch of opportunities. This video, anyway, is going to be available online, so you can always go back to it. But let me explain what they are. So I have several slides, but I'm going to start with this one. So this, and I sort of put them by family. So each slide is like a different family. And what I recommend to do is to start with an opportunity which is broad and then sort of have other connected opportunities which are going more specific. So I go from broad, wide to narrow. So the first one is more broad. Sustainability and preserving the environment is a growing factor among consumers when making purchase choices. According to Nielsen 2020, so this is fake, huh? Just don't think this is real. I'll just show you how they've written. But I think the idea behind it is correct. According to Nielsen 2020, 65% of the consumers are placing environmental consideration in the top 5 most important criteria for buying a food product. So what I mean is that when people used to be buying foods, they would not care so much about the environment. They would just care for it to be tasty. They would care for it to be affordable. They would care for it to be fresh. Now, that's my guess, but you'll have to look at the sources, the data, is to confirm it, is that the environment and this food to be, let's say, organic or using recyclable or recycled packaging and all that is much more important than it used to be. And I'm willing to say it's probably one of the first five most important. However, you may find that this is wrong, maybe for someone that makes an income less than 30,000 a year, but you may find that this is even more true for someone that makes an income more than 500,000 a year. So when you're looking at the data, you find that this is wrong or you find that this is right, depending is if who you're looking at. So that's why I say they are incomplete. It's like for someone who went to college, maybe it's the top three reason why buying food. For someone that didn't go to college, maybe it's the top 10 reason for buying foods. And maybe before it was number 10, like 30 years ago, and now it's number 9. I mean, that's not a significant change. But what I think is 20 years ago, for someone who is educated, he was number 10, and now he may be number 4. So that's when you see that there's a significant change in the ranking. So that's my first statement. Second one is brands, producers, and distributors are increasingly focusing on foods that have components and values which are sustainable. And then it's a fake quote, but that's how a quote should be. According to the American Food Association, so it's recent, it's not 1963 here, is the American Food Association says the percentage of products which are certified organic or have elements deemed environmental or good for the environment have doubled in the past 3 years and constitute about X percentage, so 46% of the premium food category. So here again, I would say there's more and more organic food, and that has been growing. I think you can find data that says that. And I anticipate that many of you may be using already these opportunities or this kind of idea behind the opportunities. And I'm saying that the certification of organic is more likely to be found in more expensive foods because I'm giving a percentage of the premium foods. Then the third one, mainstream consumption of coconut-derived products such as coconut milk, coconut oil, and coconut flakes has increased by, I think it's probably a big percentage in the past 10 years or 5 years in the USA, according to a report. And then you have to have a source. So opportunities are always something that changes by minus this or plus this within a certain period of time, according to a certain source. Okay, does that make sense? This format is the same as what I've been saying since the beginning. Do you feel that this is new, or you start seeing the point I'm trying to make?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, excellent. So I keep on going. The problem with the three that I just show you right now is they're very broad. They're correct, but they are not still too detailed in the sense that from reading this, you're guessing I'm going to say, okay, so Califia Farms should be making more organic certified products. Califia Farm should be making sure that they have as many rules and regulation to protect the environment and appear as sustainable. Maybe they should use more coconut because coconut is growing. Okay, so that's the direction where I'm going, but it's a little bit broad. So I keep going in more depth, in more details. So then the next slide is mainstream consumption of coconut-derived products such as coconut milk. Oh, so I just said that before, so ignore that, it's the same. So the next one is within consumer classified as foodies. So foodies is like a type of targets, if you want, type of group of people that have characteristics that they don't eat everything, they spend more money, more time searching, they're selective and all that. The amount of coconut derived products is 12 times more than the average population, and foodies have an income 2 times larger than the average national income in the USA. New York Times 2020. Again, this is a fake source, but what I'm trying to say is that coconut has been growing within a certain group of people, the foodies, and those people have a higher income, which I guess is good because those coconut products end up being more expensive. And then I think you can also look for information that has to do with vegetarian. I think the vegetarians have been growing, and there may be therefore some people that would want to stay away from milk because of vegetarians. Then there's another thing I find interesting is the people eating more fruits is becoming prevalent among women, maybe it's men, or maybe it's young women, older women, educated women, or whatever. It'd be interesting to see, this consumption of fruit using again the same format as above, where you're saying by how much, when, since when, and says who. So you have to sort of finish these. These are all different directions because what this will support is if you said that Califia Farm, no, they have good products and all that, that's what you have in the strength. But one thing is that they could really improve on this local farming, this using care in making sure that they don't hurt the environment when they're farming, in using people who are family-owned business, or using people who have, I don't know, maybe they have diverse staff, or maybe they are very good to the community where they live in because they give back some of their profits to help people who have, some something to gain from being helped. I don't know that Califia Farm is as good as they could be on that, and maybe that's a direction to go. So you have to bring the opportunity that would show that people do care for those. So then the fact that they've changed their food consumption and there's new ingredients that could create some kind of just some difference that they could have with their competitors. Now, this concept that people are eating fruits, I find it interesting, and you'll see I'll relate it to applesauce. So applesauce is one of the most common food for kids in the USA, but the least common food when these kids become adults. 50% of less than 10 years old consume applesauce more than twice a week, and 5% of more than 25% consume more than 1% one time a month, according to some fake source here, Research Institute 2019. But you get the idea, which is interesting that there's a lot of consumption of applesauce for a specific target, the kids. And it's a frequent, and it's a very culturally bounded thing where it's very common. But when they get older, I mean, the applesauce almost has disappeared, as if it's a sort of food that is good when you're a kid and it's not when you get to be an adult. But then applesauce can be made with apple, but it can be made with many other fruits. And if you remember, I had this thing about the fact that people are eating more fruits. So it's strange that they're eating more fruits, but they're eating less applesauce. So that's show you that there's a problem. I want more fruit, and I want my kids to have more fruit. My kids don't eat fruit, therefore I give them applesauce. I'm an adult. I'm not going to eat applesauce. I'm going to eat fruit. So why this change? There's a problem. Why don't they eat applesauce? So then people are looking for convenient, easy, fast, and accessible. They want to eat while they do something else. They want to eat while they work. They don't want to take a break at work. They want to eat while they, not recommended, but when they drive, when they take public transportation, when they do something else. They want to multitask. They're busy and they want to eat while they do all of that. So you could almost think, so the packaging is very important, and you can make people different packaging for different situations. So I'm using the example of Pedialyte here. Quantity of people drinking Pedialyte is growing and was the origin of the products such as Pedialyte for adults. Normally, Pedialyte is it's like a water which was originally focused on infants. So we're not talking about kids, we're talking about like babies. And eventually, they saw that there was more and more adults drinking Pedialyte, And there was several group of adults. One that was trying to take care of the fact that they were sick. Maybe they had a upset stomach. Maybe they drank a little bit too much alcohol, or maybe because they were doing exercise and they wanted to hydrate very fast. So they were drinking the so how to buy Pedialyte, you go to the infant section and you buy Pedialyte when you're an adult. So eventually they thought of more adult-like products. So they changed the packaging. They even created like a powder, a Pedialyte powder that you could mix many different ways. All right, so you can see that with Califia Farms, therefore there is opportunity for a change of how the almond milk comes out. You could imagine a powder almond milk, and you will just add milk, water, and then you'll get your almond milk. You could imagine different age group with different packaging. So that would be market development versus the powder, that would be new product development. These are not ideas, they are ideas, but they are supported by opportunities, which is that people are looking for different solution to the consumption of milk, being almond milk, or being a different format, or being a different policy for the company that makes a product that they want. All right. Do you have any questions?
Professor?
Yes.
So with the example that you just gave about the powder, and I know you were just throwing an example out there, but if the company is already doing something like the powder, that wouldn't be an opportunity that we could apply it, right? Because there'd
Exactly.
be more.
Exactly. That's correct. So if what I say is things that they already do, you cannot pretend that you're telling them to do something they already do. That's pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's a competitor doing it, that doesn't mean that you cannot do it. It means that you have to do it in a different way, which is better than what the competitors are doing. So the easiest thing is cheaper. So it's like, we're not going to do powder almond milk because there's already 12 competitors. No, that's not a reason. It's not a reason because there's 6 or there's 50. The reason is because there's no need for another one, but there's always a need, always. And maybe the need here would be to do one in a individual powder pack, or maybe it would be to make it easier to prepare, or maybe you find that people are saying everybody has a good product, but nobody has one that you mix fast, or maybe I want one that does not have sugar and everybody has sugar inside, or you find that someone comes up with an innovation where in fact it's inside the cap, and when you turn the cap of the bottle, the powder comes in, and then you just add the water, so you don't have to use a little bag. Then it's a improvement from the packaging perspective. So there is always something that you can improve, even if it's Califia Farms was doing it, where you find that there's someone that invented a powder for, I don't know, vitamin C, and you say, you know what, we have a powder, but we're going to borrow the packaging concept from that vitamin C and apply it to our product, because there's other ways to use the product. You see what I'm saying? So, but you can't say the exact same thing. You cannot find the opportunities that justify something that they've done. It has to justify what they're doing and justify what they can do to make it better than what they are doing.
Professor?
Yes.
So would the opportunity be that less adults aren't attracted to powdered milk or powdered almond, powdered anything?
Yeah, so if you find that they made that product for everyone because they knew people wanted it, and most of the people using it are people from 10 to 20, and under that and above that, they don't use it, then you have to find what is the reason why they don't use it. And that the answer to that question may be the opportunity. And the opportunity may be that that they find that it doesn't feel natural. Right. So I'll give you an example. In the 50s, they started making what we call today cake mix. In the 50s, women were at a different status in our societies where they didn't work as much, and oftentimes they were the person fixing the food at home and being the cook. So when they invented cake mix, did it work? No, it didn't work. I think it was Kroger invented the first cake mix, and it just didn't go anywhere. People didn't buy them. So then they hired a consultant, and the consultant did some study and found that the cake mix and some water to make a dish didn't work because they felt guilty of cooking to their family, doing so little. So the consultant said, you need to add in the mix that they need to add an egg. And the fact that the wife, the mother, was taking the powder mix, the water, and then cracking an egg, suddenly the business multiplied by 1,000 just from that small little detail because you remove the guilt. So product didn't work. It didn't work because there was a consumer behavior barrier, a psychological barrier, guilt, right? Feeling guilty of not doing anything. And so you, if you talk to someone and they tell you, no, I'll never use that powder because it looks disgusting. What looks disgusting? Well, it looks disgusting because you take it from this plastic bag, you put it here, it's like plastic, 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 plastic. People may have a hard time explaining why they don't like it. But if you find that there's the problem, then you think about the solution, and that solution to that problem becomes the opportunity. Is people that are over 20 years old won't eat a powder almond milk because they find that it doesn't taste like the real thing. So then you have to find from this problem what would be making them feel that it tastes the same. Maybe you need to have two bags, with one bag doing this and another bag doing that, so they feel like they're mixing. So you have to find a solution. I don't know what it is right now, but I try to explain the fact that you have to sort of tweak. You find what is called a just noticeable difference, that suddenly, like this egg, add the egg in the recipe, and that's it. That worked. And no, I mean, look, the cake mix and all that, it's almost what everybody does. No, it's microwave this, microwave that. And did I answer your question?
Also, one little quick thing though, is the solution to the problem the opportunity, or is the opportunity the problem that we're trying to solve?
No, the opportunity is the opportunity is either a problem or a solution to a problem. For example, the blockchain is an opportunity for musicians to be able to get paid through like a Bitcoin type of system. So blockchain is an opportunity which generates some solution. But sometimes what you're looking for is a problem, such as that people are not buying music anymore. But then you say if you sell it through Bitcoin, then they use their Bitcoin to buy the thing. So it can be a problem, then you have to find a solution, or it can be a solution, then you just have to implement the solution. Opportunity come from both. So gas prices are going up. What is that? Is that a solution? No, that's a problem. But then if you say battery are able to power an electric engine to the point that one could make a car that does 150 miles distance, that's a solution. That's a solution for gas prices being high. So problems and solutions are both generating opportunities. But obviously, if your opportunity is just a problem, then you have to conceptualize how is this problem can be solved. And the solution of that problem being your product becomes why is your company going to be successful? Because they took advantage of a problem. Any other questions? So last one is finding some kind of data that says that there's people eating more fruits, adults also eating some kind of baby food, or at least finding the number of adults that thinks that baby food is tasty and that they actually enjoy eating baby food, the same as adults enjoy drinking Pedialyte, baby water. If they drink baby water, is it possible that they would like baby food? And I think you could find that. So where do you look for information? If you look at Nielsen, you will find a lot of data, but Nielsen is secondary data, and it's quantitative secondary data for the most part. You cannot make opportunities just of Nielsen. Sometimes you have to go ask people questions. Asking people questions through a questionnaire is a lot of work. I don't recommend that. What I recommend is that you just ask someone. So I'm going to say this every session that we meet. Did you ask someone? Asking one person is much faster than writing a questionnaire and asking 1,000 people. So ask people their habits. Bring them, I don't know, baby peach cup. Ask them to eat it and see what they say. If they say it's disgusting, I will never eat that again, and then it's likely that maybe this is not a good solution. But if this is a good solution, is it possible to think that people are moving away from dairy products to almond milk and all of these different type of nuts or whatever milk? But it's also possible that people may want to eat sort of like applesauce. But the problem with applesauce is even just a name, because there could be many different kind of applesauce would have no apple inside, but just the applesauce of peach, applesauce of pear, applesauce of banana. It could be all kinds of different applesauce. Could this work with vegetarians? Would vegetarians go into this? So there's some research to be taken, and in fact, there is a business called Sanaya, which was a business that was actually founded by one of the shark in Shark Tank not too long ago. I mean, very recently. And it's a business that's sort of based on that idea, is that you make different applesauce with different type of fruits, with different mix. And the picture which is at the top is the product as it was when this person went to Shark Tank, versus the product at the bottom. To me, that's the way the product should really be. It should be just like a yogurt. So you're a company that makes yogurt with milk, then you're a company that makes yogurt with almond, then you're a company that sort of make those fruit yogurt. It's like different fruits mix. So that could be, here again, I'm not saying the opportunity to make this product. The opportunity is people looking for healthier solutions, people eating more fruits, people that used to eat so much applesauce and they don't anymore. What is it the reason that they don't eat it anymore? Is it the way you eat it? Could you make it into a paste? Could you make it into a tube? Could it be a mixture of products that is already seen as healthy that Califia Farms is making? And then you could say, you know what, California, isn't California one of the #1 places for growing fruits? Are there fruits not far from Califia Farms? What are the typical fruits around Califia Farms, the headquarter or whatever, that we could also say, Califia Farms is doing this almond products, but it's also doing this fruits products, and we are going after health and sustainability and all of that. Obviously, these are raw material. This is not. This is just food for thoughts, I could say, for you to start thinking about what are how to build this argument. This argument is built from these problems, or from these solutions which are being given to people in our environment that we as business people see as something we can take advantage of in order to generate growth for the company. And that's what we do as business people, is we generate growth. Also is you cannot say that one product is going to work. It's like if you say people are liking less and less beef, therefore they're going to like more and more chicken. No, it's not always. You can never sure that one other product's going to be more successful because one is down. Is they may like less and less beef, and they're going to like something else than chicken. Suddenly, it may be that they like less and less beef, and they're liking more and more something that you didn't expect, fish. And you are saying, let's invest in chicken. And it's not chicken that they went for. So it's like less and less people like rock and roll. Therefore, more and more people are going to like hip hop. And then you find that it's not hip hop they like more and more, it's country music and reggaeton. And then you go, wow, why it should have been? I mean, it's either 1 and 2. Why did they pick 7? So it's like 1 is rock and roll, 2 is hip hop. If they don't like rock and roll, they're going to go towards hip hop. No, they jumped. They went for something else. It's not mathematical the way people think. And so you have to think about the way people are shifting interests based on big ideas, which is like health. So if suddenly they like more and more health, they don't shift towards almond milk. So let's say people don't like milk as much anymore because they have lactose intolerance. Great. So they're going to go for almond milk. But then he says it doesn't work that way because people also care for the environment. And then they find that almond milk, and I'm making this up, causes a lot of issues with water and access to water and all of this. And then they end up taking more and more coconut milk. And so it's coconut milk, which you didn't really anticipate it, who benefited from the fact of lactose intolerance and not the second largest substitute of milk. So you can't jump to conclusion. You have to look at the whole picture, and you can never be 100% sure, really. But you have to have more evidence to sort of be able to predict more what they may be doing. Do you have any questions that I can answer? No. Okay, so a lot of the things I'm talking about right now are connected to something important, which is consumer behavior. We talked about all of these key factors last time, where essentially, like I just finished, it's hard to anticipate how people are going to think, but you can sort of try to interpret the most relevant data in order to make deduction, and that's all you can do. The factor that is the most important is the culture. And when you talk about consumer behavior, obviously you think about the concept of satisfaction. What is going to satisfy them? What is satisfying them right now? And what's going to satisfy them next? So you have multiple characteristics that explain consumer behavior, and culture is the number one. But subculture is also very important. Subculture is what nationality you may have, what religion you may have, what sub nationality you may have, what other language you may have, what hobby, like ingrained hobby, so a serious hobby, something you do very regularly, do you have. You can imagine someone that plays baseball versus someone that plays golf to be two different people, or someone that play drum versus someone who plays piano to be two different people. It's two different subculture, and your hobbies have an impact, a very deep impact on what you consume and how you spend your spare time. Your social class has an impact as well. Then you have social characteristics that impact people behavior, such as which group do you belong to. So your reference group is is usually connected to where you live, the people you hang out with. So the people that you aspire to be is also part of your reference group, because there's a reference group you belong and the reference group that you wish you belong or that you are transitioning to. So let's say you're a student, that's a reference group. Then let's say you are a CPA, aspirational CPA, that's a certified accountant reference group who you aspire to. You're an employee and maybe you aspire to become a business owner. So all of that will have an influence. Obviously, the family is, in many ways, within the concept of culture, is very important. It's connected and has one of the biggest influence, but also the roles and status you have. So the roles, meaning maybe you have the role of being a mother, that's a role, or a father, or a daughter, and all that. Maybe you have a status, which is that you have some maybe you're a coach, you're a soccer coach or something like that. So being a coach, you have a certain status. That's going to influence on what you consume versus being just a student of soccer or being the assistant coach or something like that. Different behavior being the coach and being the assistant coach. Then there are personal characteristics such as how old you are, which generation you belong to, if you are married, if you are not married, if you have kids, if your kids are younger, older, in high school, in college, if you have grandkids and all this, this affects how you consume. But also, and that's very obvious, is if you have a job and if that job is providing an income and what kind of income, if you have savings, no savings, and then the lifestyle that you have. So the lifestyle things is maybe political. You know, you are Democrats, Republican, Independent, you're green, you what are the activities you like? So reading, listening to music, maybe you have a sports team that you favor and you follow. So that will be connected with your subculture. There's interconnection between all of this. Then there's the personality and self-concept. So you have a perception of yourself that you are very successful and you're very happy of yourself. You don't really have much feeling that you're successful, or you may have a third position, which is that you feel that you are not as successful as you should be. You may be depressed and have a low self-concept where you think that you're a loser, and that would have an impact, thinking that you're the best versus thinking that you're a loser. So people vanity has an impact on what they consume, but also their personality. Maybe they like things to be made locally, maybe they prefer things to be made overseas, maybe they prefer things that were made by a company for a long time, maybe they prefer a new company, maybe they prefer to try things that nobody tried before, they try to try things that everybody tried. So your perception of risk is very important. So personality has an impact, but it's not as big as anyone thinks. Motivation is how much you perceive that you need this product. Perception is how much you see this product as being something more than it is or less than what it is. So it's like your value, your judgment of value. And then learning and beliefs and attitudes is essentially this idea that there's repetition, there's experience, there is memorization, there is beliefs and attitudes that people have, and that will impact on how they consume. This goes into one of the components, which is this concept of motivation. So Maslow motivation theories is that there's 5 levels of motivation. From the simplest one and from the most required one. So you start at being physiologically satisfied. So you have needs. Those needs are not created. They exist for everyone, which is the need to eat and the need to sleep and the need to have water and shelter and sexual needs. Then you have the second order, which is this need for safety. So the idea here is that you need to feel that you are not being under threat, that you have some sort of stability and order. And then these 2 needs are the basic needs, physiological and security needs. Then the next 2 needs are interpersonal. So social needs and ego needs are interpersonal because they are very much dependent on others. So social needs is this idea is that you need to have friends, you need to be part of a group, you need to have an identity, you need to feel that you're not an outcast, you follow a group, you're not isolated, you're not alone, and essentially there's people that like you. The next need, which is again interpersonal, and it's connected, but it's a higher level in the sense that it's called the esteem need, the ego need, where you will not only be part of a group, but you want to have some status in that group, in the sense that you want to be recognized as someone who has some kind of command, some kind of respect that you seen as more prestigious. Okay, and then the last one, this time is not interpersonal, it's personal. So 1 and 2 is personal, but it's very much this physiological, like survival instinct type of need. The next 2 are interpersonal, so they're very dependent on others. And then the last one is personal. It's just you. So what others people think and do does not affect you. It's what you think. So it's like achievement. It's self-directed, self-fulfillment. It's personal enrichment. It's actualization and self-actualization. Is how do I feel about myself? So if you were to buy electric drill, for example, a power drill, is you would have the idea that the 1 and 2 will be that you bought this power drill because you want to fix something, so that way you can eat. So let's say it's your fridge. With the power drill, is you building a shelf, you're doing something to keep food, and then you do it in a way that it's going to be safe. Social needs is that you're going to say, you know what, I'm married, I'm a good husband, I'm fixing things with my power drill. The ego needs is you would want people to know that you just don't have tools, but you have expensive tools, and that they are tools that are professional grade or something like this. And then the self-actualization is it's not so dependent on fulfilling a basic need, such as 1 and 2, and it doesn't matter what other people think, but what you think. So you may be doing something with that power drill that for most people would not be attractive, but you'd be happy to do it because it'd be giving you personal joy and personal satisfaction. Any question on Maslow hierarchy? The 5 levels. So it's not so complicated, and it's simple enough to put inside the quiz. And so in the quiz, I may have a question which just goes to the definition: is what is the need which has to do with people trying to feel that they are superior and their product consumption allows them to feel better about themselves in their group. And that would be ego needs. Okay. So perception is this idea that we have senses and different senses when we are looking at something. And therefore there's biases in what we're looking and how much we remember from what we're looking with different level of attention. The different level of attention is based on our perception for this thing to be necessary or useful. The more we see it is useful, the more we pay attention to it. A little bit like if you're looking at the internet and you can't remember everything. So you only remember the things that are important to you, and maybe that's expressed by the fact that you bookmark it. Things that you bookmark, things that you save, are things that you perceive as being more important. The absolute threshold is the lowest level at which an individual can experience a sensation. So when you change, something, it's like you find that Califia Farms already has a powdered almond milk. The idea is if you were to make it better, how much better do you need to make it in order for people to see that it's better? So what is the absolute threshold, which is the minimum that you need to do, minimum amount of change that you need to do in order for people to see this is change, this is not the same. You change the color, you change the flavors, you change the quantity, you change the way it comes out, the way it tastes and all that. Sensory adaptation is the fact that after a while, people get used to something, even if they thought this was the best thing, eventually it's going to become familiar and they will become adapted. Therefore, you need to think about what is the absolute threshold for the next phase. The differential threshold, therefore, is what is the minimum between two stimuli? And so what is the minimum amount that you need to have in order to generate an interest, a motivation? So this is a very important concept, which I sort of was starting to talk about today earlier when I started the class, that I call this difference, this just noticeable difference. The J&D is what every business is trying to do. Every business could be classified based on the amount of J&D that it has. How much difference does it have? Sometimes, there's some big company, they have multiple brands and they're selling these multiple brands with the same product inside. And what they're trying to do is to cover more market. One could ask, what is the J&D? Well, what's inside? It's the same. The packaging is the same, but it's just the brand that is different. Are the price the same? Sometimes the price is the same, and sometimes the price is very different because they want people to think because of the difference of price, there's a different product. So the J&D is what you may call the cherry on that cake, that significant difference. It's this minimum change that you need to have in order to perceive that there's enough change for someone to want to buy. There's enough benefits. I remember there was a time where a Range Rover was selling one of their cars and they were saying, this is the new Range Rover. And people didn't buy it more than before. And in fact, they were just waiting to see, to feel the newness of the car. And if you look at the car, it looked very much the same as the one from the previous year. So what Range Rover did is they made a list of all the things that were changed, and there was like 800 things that were changed. So then they were saying, this is the new Range Rover. It may look the same, but we have changed 862 things to make it better. The fact that they said it was 862 things was giving a cue for people to say, you know what, at least the look was good, the look is the same, but it must be a better car because 862 things, that's a lot. But here, even the question is that enough? Should we say we change 200 things, 400 things, 600 things, 1,000 things? What is the right amount of the right number that we're going to say that's going to seem enough to be perceived as being enough change that I would want to buy this new product to replace the current product that I have. So here's a picture with the JND. Obviously, the most famous pair of shoe is the one in the middle. It's the three stripes. The three stripes is like it's a trademark of Adidas for the design of their sport shoes. And here we see some other shoe that very much look the same, but they have either 2 stripes or 4 stripes. And this is not me that Photoshop, this shoe actually exists. And so what is the JND? It's the amount of stripes. What is the JND is the identity, the image, the reputation of the brand. But when it comes to design, what difference is it going to make in the shoe to have 1 stripes, 2, 3, 4, 5 stripes? It's still not using the stripes to be walking, but that may be enough as a fashion statement in order to be enough JND for people to want to buy the product. So there are, when people make a decision, they go through a process. And so this is called the buyer decision process. As you will see, there is the buyer decision process as a consumer buyer, and then there is the business buyer decision process. If you're a business, it's different than if you're buying for your personal consumption. It's different, but it starts the same way. In both cases, being a business or being a private owner, you recognize there is a need. The recognition that there is a need comes from the fact that you have a just noticeable difference. You've seen something that is different and possibly better. Depending on how much you see it as better, that will generate the motivation. So if you perceive there's a lot of difference, but it's not better, you're not going to want to go further. If you see there's difference, but not enough difference, therefore it won't be enough to get you to be motivated. The idea is need recognition is for people to recognize that they want to look for more information or maybe just buy the product straight away, depending on how much do they know about this product and how important is this product for them and how expensive is this product. So the more expensive the product, the more they go in information search. The less they know about the product, the more they go in information search. The more they need information because it's complicated, the more they go in information search. If it's all of this is sort of simple and inexpensive and they have a lot of experience, they may just jump into buying the product without going to information and evaluation of the different choices and straight go to buying. So once they search for information, they look at the pros and cons, and then they buy the product, and then they think about, they don't really think about it, is they sort of memorize the fact that they don't want to buy this again, or they liked it so much that they want to go back again. Think about a movie with a certain actor. You like this movie with this actor, and now there's another movie with an actor. You have time, you like this actor, you go back to see the movie. And if you like the movie again, you like this actor and keeps on going. If you go to a restaurant and you had a good dinner, you go back to this restaurant because you feel that it was good. If you see that the chef has opened another restaurant somewhere else, you may go and try it because you say, you know what, it's a different restaurant, but it's the same chef, so I'm going to try it again because I have positive post-purchase satisfaction, and therefore I will try again. Okay. Do you have any questions on JND or the buyer decision process? Okay, everybody is very quiet today. So to finish the consumer behavior, there's this concept of adopter groups. So the adopter groups are interesting because first it tells you that there are several types of consumers and they come at different time. They tend to come at different time because there's a different level of interest. There's different personalities, meaning some people are more risk taking and some people are more risk averse. There's different need for innovation. Some people really look for the new things. There's different level of education and level of income. So the higher the level of education, the more people tend to buy when the product is just being launched. The higher the income, the more they tend to buy when it's launched. The opposite makes the reverse, the inverse situation. So knowing these multiple groups is interesting, but you mostly want to know the first group, the innovator. The innovator are very important because they sort of set the pace for your product to be successful. So it's a little bit like thinking about a fire. When you start a fire, the quality of your fire is very dependent on the quality of what you started. I remember I was,
Professor,
yes,
I have a question. So you were like talking about different categories of people,
yes.
and so my question will be like, who are those innovators then? Like, so and also my second question will be like, if basically you're trying to do something new, which target are you gonna attack first?
Okay, so that's exactly right. So your question is right on why is this important? Because when you launch a new product, you want to get successful and as soon as possible and with the right group to get started as possible for your product, new product being launched, not to be a burst, not to be short-lived. So you reminded me, I went to start a fire in a chimney, and I was putting paper, but the paper was not very dry. So it was sort of this humid paper. So because it was paper and I had a big match, the paper would eventually start burning, but it would never really set itself in fire to generate enough heat in order to start burning the wood, because the wood requires a large amount of heat in order to start, depending on the wood, but average wood. Because this paper was sort of humid, it would not get a very big flame. It would just consume, but not set the fire. And so you can, that's the same image with when you launch a new product, is you want a really strong buzz, they say, at the beginning. And the innovators, that's what they're going to do. So that's the importance of these people. But how do you find innovators? So innovators, because now of the use of new technology with the social media and the digital media, the beauty is everyone is able to build a fan base of followers that oftentimes that's where you get your innovators. The first group of people that would take your product and take pictures and share it with everybody else. But not only that, is, there's a, it's funny, I was driving this morning and I noticed right in front of me was a white Subaru. On my left was a white Subaru, and behind me was a white Subaru, the exact same model car, 100% the same. And this was only a 2-lane, so therefore there could be nobody on my right. But I was surrounded of those white Subarus. And then I wondered, why are there so many Subarus? Well, there was probably something to do with the hour I was driving. At the hour I was driving, maybe this was the time where you had a specific group of people that was driving at that time. You don't notice the same car at the same time of the day. So this time of the day you drive, all the cars are like cheap cars. And there's hours of the day where you drive and suddenly there's more expensive cars because there's different group of people at different times. So there's different group of people that live in different places. If you live far from a Subaru dealership, they're not as common. There's less likely to have Subarus around you because people tend to buy cars from dealers that are conveniently located where they are. So there's many other reasons, there's many effects. But one of the effects may be that these cars are perceived as being better because they are different, and that difference may speak to a specific group of people that don't want the same car as everybody else. That so this group of innovator, unfortunately, they're small. So here it says 2.5% on this slide because that's the generic standard percentage that every adopter category um, is explaining. But you can't expect this number to be all the time. It may be 0.5% depending on what you're selling. So all you know is it's by far the smallest percent of all of them. But you cannot expect to run a business by launching your product and launching it by bypassing the innovators. Some products are very lucky. They start with the innovator, but it's like a week, and then they go straight to the early adopters for 2 months, and then the early majority for 5 years, and it keeps on going like that. But some go through the innovators. I mean, that's what happened to the iPhone. The iPhone took something like 5 years, 4 or 5 years before it became successful. So it was not an overnight. So they had to cultivate the innovators of cell phone for several years before they totally embraced it. And when they fully embraced it, there were enough of them in order to create the snowball, like a snowball, like the spill over, the snowball that growing as you're pushing it to the next category, which is the early adopters. And then once you get to the early adopters, it's usually a good sign because now you have 15%. So you have some robust number that's going to roll to the early majority, late majority, and laggards.
I see. Just to make sure if I understand,
Yeah.
the way that you will cultivate those innovators is by trying to find an answer in their issues or their problems. And after you've been finding the solutions, they will be like around you, and then this curiosity will become bigger, I guess, and then the other group will come along with.
Well, what happened is you have to think more of a disease.
Oh.
So think about a virus, which now we're all very familiar with. The best way to give a disease is to either a group of people that meet a lot of other people. So it's like here, let's give a disease to someone that doesn't wash their hands too much and meets a lot of people. That's perfect. We're not going to, let's say we want to give a virus. We are like a virus and we're smart. We are marketing virus. We don't want to start with someone that washes their hands every 5 minutes because we're not going to have the disease roll. So we're going to look and say, look at the community. Someone that touch a lot of people, see a lot of people, like, I think, so what that would be?
Facebook, I guess?
No, someone that touch a lot of people. So I would say first, probably a younger person, because a younger person goes out. A younger person wakes up, goes to the gym. So at the gym, they can leave a lot of viruses everywhere. After that, they go to the university, so they're going to see another thousands of people. After that, what can they do? So I don't know if you understand my concept. Is you would want to get the most out of the list. So you would want to find these people really. Like giving the disease to someone who doesn't like to go out, that is older, and that's not going to transmit it. It doesn't help you.
Makes sense.
So the innovators are not who you're looking for to solve the problem. Because if you do this, therefore you're going to have a business that is micro niche. You're going to do a business that helps the experts. So what you do is you find a solution that helps a lot of people, but you let that solution be known just by the innovators to start. So they are the first one to embrace it because they go, yes, finally, a cell phone I can take pictures with. And so it's better. Before the cell phone, you can't take a picture. You can only call someone. And so they now are using this product, but they are someone that voice a lot, like an influencer. So they will tell a lot of people, oh, did you see my cell phone? What is it? It takes pictures. And they will say that to thousands of people. A lot of people will find out about them. So they will diffuse this news much faster. And they will be like a conduit, like a channel fast to go to the early adopters, which would be the next group that would say, I need that. I think I need that. I definitely am. I deserve it. I have to have it. And then it diffuses to a point, where it's eventually there's enough competitors, and there's enough competitors that want to get their market share that they create the next just noticeable difference out of the innovation that was innovation years ago. And then they keep improving. So everyone run for the innovator. Everybody court the innovator. Everybody wants to be the best friend with the innovator, because the innovator is the spark of the process. Okay?
Yes.
So
for Califia Farm, if you're launching a new product, you have to think about the innovator. Because every time you have a new product, that's necessary. Who is it that's going to like my product first and care for it? But you can't think of the innovator as the target for launching a new product, because they tend to be expert and they move very quickly to the next thing. So you're not going to have them very long. They just move on. They tend to be higher income, so they can constantly move on and look for information specific. Unless your company has a strategy of being a product leadership. I don't know if you remember that. That was one of the strategy, product leadership. And constantly, in fact, you're nourishing the innovators. And by being the best one, the marketing is made by itself, because then it contaminates everybody by default. All right. Any questions? So on Wednesday, I will finish business buyer behavior, which is very short because it's sort of very similar to what I discussed. And then I will finish the last subject, which is segmentation, targeting, and positioning, which is very important, which is related to the conversation that I was just having based on that discussion and question. And that would be the last subject to cover for the quiz, which will be when we come back from the spring break.
So the midterm is after spring break, correct?
Yes, the midterm is Monday, the 22nd of March.
22nd. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we won't have class, just to clarify, the 15th and 17th, correct?
Yes, no class 15 or 17th because it's spring break. Yes.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
Hope you have a good day.
Yes, you too.
Professor, you have a quiz posted for Wednesday, actually this week.
Oh, there's a quiz posted, but it probably doesn't work.
That says 2020.
Oh, it says 2020. Okay, so I have to fix that. Thank you. I'll write it down.
Professor, I got a question. So when we find opportunities, we strategize to really look for like one product that we want to do, or we're looking for several products, two different opportunities?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and I'm glad that you're asking. What happens is if you find, so that's right, because the example I gave you had multiple products, multiple things they could do. I did this because I wanted to bring different direction for the students to show that there's multiple direction you could go. If you were to write a paper where you offer multiple opportunities with multiple directions, only take one. And the reason with being that that's a lot. And I want you to do well. The more direction you're going to go, the harder it's going to be to do well on the direction. So show that you understand there's multiple direction, pick the direction that you think is the best. And there's an opportunity to do that because that's the next section that talks about the strategic alternative. So you say which one you're going to choose and why. And that way you focus on one. Other one is too much work. The truth is, if you were paid to do this, you probably will be paid to do more than just one. But for small businesses, oftentimes, you can't run after too many chicken at the same time. So it's much better to focus on one. So you can bring several opportunities and several solutions, but only focus on one when it comes to selecting it and giving some details of what you would do for that one solution.
Thank you, Professor. And one last question. So, and then for each subject on the SWOT, how much information should we go about getting for that?
Well, yeah, how much? The thing is, some students, some groups sometimes find that they actually enjoy doing this. They maybe have some kind of interest in marketing major, whatever, or management. And so therefore they do, and they should do better because that's going to be their number one. And so they develop many opportunities, so much that there's not enough space in the 10 pages. So what they do is they create an appendix, which is further opportunity analysis, they call it, appendix 1. And in there, they can put 1, 2, 3 page of opportunities if they want to. And then inside the document, which is supposed to be only 10 pages, they write, the top 3 opportunities. So it's like strengths, weaknesses, top 3 opportunities. See more details on appendix 1. Does that answer your question?
Not exactly. So, I mean, how many pages should the strengths take up? How many should?
But well, look in the samples. I mean, the samples are
okay. So just follow the examples.
Yeah, follow the samples. What I'm trying to say is sometimes people have a SWOT analysis where they go into a lot of detail. They have more than 5 or 6 strengths. They have like 18, 20 strengths. And so instead of me telling them delete, I say no, create an appendix called long detail SWOT analysis, appendix 1. And then inside the paper, they only write 5 lines of strengths, 5 lines of opportunities, 5 lines of weaknesses. And that's the way I would do it. In my life, that's how I succeeded, is I always did more than what I was asked, and almost never it hurted me. But don't have the space because there's 10 pages. So therefore, how you do it is I create an appendix, which is a long version, and then I would keep a short version for the paper. That way I go by the rule, but at the same time, I go beyond the expectation of the professor or my boss or whoever. I mean, that's how you excel in life, is by going beyond expectation. It's a general principle. Does that answer?
Yeah, that answers it.